What's hot at IFA 2019?
Vertical Hold is proudly sponsored by Casa Systems, taking Australian technology to the global market.
Welcome to Vertical Hold, Behind the Tech News, where we talk to Australia's leading technology journalists to get the stories behind the news of the week. I'm Alex Kidman, and this week we've taken the show on the road to Berlin, Germany for the IFA 2019 show. And I'm joined by a reasonably large group of Australia's best tech journalists.
Lies. Flatterer. I'll take it.
I like these responses. So in order, we've got
Fergus Halliday from PC World.
Alex Horosh from Whistleout.
Chris Rowland from Ausdroid.
And we've been at IFA now for a couple of days, and it's a big, wide trade show, and there's a lot of white goods, and a lot of stuff that we don't typically chase up ourselves to speak of within the technology frame, but there have been a few kind of larger surprises now. Fergus, I know you're here, and with due disclaimers in the way as a guest
Of course, as a guest of Lenovo. Yeah.
What did they have to show?
Well, they had a few things. They had their whole new 2019 winter sort of range of yoga books, which if you like yoga books is like great. They're slightly prettier, they're slightly more feature rich, they have a few new interesting software hooks on them. And then they also showed off their new Think books, which are sort of like a SMB focused and more affordable version of the ThinkPad proposition. Yeah. They also showed on the phone side the Motorola One Zoom, which hasn't actually been confirmed for Australia yet, but it's looking like a really interesting successor to the One Vision, which came out earlier in the year.
Yeah, I found the One Zoom really kind of fascinating because this year's been a really good one for mid-range phones, and especially mid-range phones with particularly good cameras. Obviously, they're kind of the Pixel 3a is the gold standard here.
You can't beat the Pixel 3a.
Well, everyone is trying,
Which is
Everyone's
great.
trying
Like
really
it
hard.
is really exciting that it's kind of like lit a fire under the industry to try and make mid-range cameras great.
Because this is what is it? I think it's about a US $400
Yeah.
phone with quad camera on the back, which is new for that kind of price
Quad camera, all the different lenses. You get wide angle, you get 3 times optical zoom, 5 times I think hybrid.
I think it's 10.
Oh, it might go up to. Yeah.
I don't have the spec sheet in front of me right now.
Yeah.
But it's looking like a decent challenger proposition to the Pixel 3a. Although I think broadly that's a
even if
big
it doesn't
massive
have the software advantages, I think it's really compelling on the hardware side.
Yeah.
Nokia also has a challenger to the Pixel 3a.
Nokia's got a challenger for just about everything. Chris, why should I get excited about a bunch of Nokia feature phones, especially?
Because they're just cool. These are phones that are ultra affordable. They have the apps that I wouldn't say that everybody wants, but they have the core services that people use. Facebook, WhatsApp, the ability to take a photo, check a web browser, probably read your email, make a phone call, send a message.
Use it as a hotspot for another phone.
Use it as a hotspot for your laptop, as I'm doing
For
now.
a better phone.
For a better phone, a tablet, what have you. And they're dirt cheap. Like even the cheapest one I think was €89, and it supports all your 4G stuff, your VoLTE, voice over Wi-Fi, 4G hotspotting. It lasts for a week or two on standby. Why would you not buy one of these? Especially if you're out and about. If you hotspot off a smartphone, you might get 5 or 6 hours out of it if you're lucky. And it takes a while to charge, plus you might want to use it for other things. But these feature phones are just cheap and cheerful. They feel like they're fun.
It's almost like the phone equivalent of something like the Nintendo SNES Classic or something like that. There's like something toy-like about them on the Nokia original side that's really thrilling.
Although the 800 Tough is not a toy. That's a pretty brutalist
That's
phone.
a serious weapon. I think you could probably kill someone with it.
I reckon you could probably chuck an aeroplane with it. Well, with a couple of them.
So it's even got a mil-spec rating, 810G for humidity, temperature, low pressure. Nokia had a frozen one during their press conference, and it was still running. I don't know how you'd pick up the phone, but
I was super impressed actually. They had one that they were just chucking at the concrete again and again and again. And sure, they'll usually show you a video of that kind of stuff, but it's always that, you've chosen the one where it all went. This was just a phone. They were quite happy to keep doing that.
Do you want to go?
And it only had, you only have to have that thing break once.
Yeah.
And, all of these rugged specs eventually wear down, and every journalist in the room was going to pick up on that, and nobody really did.
no, and I threw one just off the stand, and they're just like, do you want to do it again? But yeah, it's a really interesting phone. It's got a carabiner loop built in, so it's very outdoor adventure-y kind of vibe, ruggedized rubber, and up to 43 days of battery life on standby, which
That is on standby. I mean,
Yeah,
if
of
you're
course.
actually using it, you're not getting quite that much.
As soon as you turn on a 4G hotspot, like when you're hiking and no signal, it's like, oh.
They're also trying to make flip phones happen again, though, as well.
I think they're going to succeed, based on the responses from journalists that I know.
So Nokia or HMD has brought back the Nokia 2720 Flip as a 4G smartphone. It's actually like pretty significant in terms of size. It's got a 2.8-inch screen on the inside and a really like sizable T9 keyboard. It actually feels pretty good to type on. If you can stomach T9 again, I can't. And there's another
I'm
one.
never going back to T9. Not once.
Yeah.
Not ever.
T9, not even once.
Exactly.
And then there's like another 1.3-inch external display for when it's closed, so you can still see your notifications and all of that. And as Chris was saying, it still has the core range of apps like Google Maps, WhatsApp, YouTube. It even has Google Assistant integrated. So instead of T9ing, you can just dictate to Google.
What really surprised me across these three feature phones, though, is that Nokia has indicated that they're looking to bring them to Australia, because they've had quite a few feature phones that they've launched and just said, oh yeah, not for down under.
And so we've seen the Nokia originals come to Australia before because they've got some serious nostalgia value. Who doesn't love banana phone? But it's really interesting that they're also bringing the Tough 800 and the 110 to Australia. And the 110 could be as cheap as maybe like $30 based on international pricing. And I mean, it makes phone calls, it sends text messages, it might take something that you can call a photo.
I think that's perhaps been a bit generous for a VGA camera, but again, for $30, what exactly do you expect? They also had a couple of plays, though, in their more traditional Android space, and I know Android is exactly what Ausdroid is all about.
They did. I mean, they were expected to launch 3 Android phones and stuck with 2, but the 2 phones that they did release were actually quite exciting. A triple camera array, a great big display that does upscaling of content, not just in resolution, but also from SDR to HDR. For those that are consuming media on their phones, this means a much more enjoyable experience. The design is also something that Nokia phones have been lauded for in the past, and the 6.2 and the 7.2, they look and feel really nice. I think Juho said on stage that one of the tenets of HMD's stewardship of the Nokia's phones is to have beautiful Nordic design, and I thought, oh, here we go, here's just another flashy term. Until you actually hold the phones and realise they actually have put a bit of effort into the design yet again. It's going to make them a popular choice, and they're not all that expensive.
Yeah, they've been a bit hit and miss on the design because they've had a few things that have looked really good on paper, and you pick them up and you realise, oh, the edges are sharp, or it's a bit
They
too
have
heavy
had a
or bit
few
odd.
missteps.
But these ones are pretty good, I think.
This feels like a good evolution of the product line. The sharp edges are gone, the funny copper banding around the edge, which just didn't...
I'm also pro copper banding. Very endearing.
You two gentlemen are now welcome to leave. The copper banding I thought it looked nice, but in function it just felt a little off in the hand, whereas these, they feel like every other smartphone, and I think that's really, in this case, it's a good thing.
Also Nordic.
They haven't announced pricing or anything for them yet, but do you think you can see the 7.2 competing against the 3A in that price range?
They've got to be similar
Yeah.
based on their Euro
Yeah,
pricing.
based on the Euro, it's probably going to come in around 500, which makes sense, around the Reno Z territory, around Motorola One Vision territory, which makes like they share the same 48 megapixel lens, or at least a similar 48 megapixel lens. So it's not surprising. And they actually are doing some interesting tricks on the 7.2. They're bringing a night mode to Nokia phones, which is the first time we've seen a night mode on a Nokia smartphone. They're doing some really interesting emulation of Zeiss lens bokeh effects, like from actually like the vintage Zeiss lenses. And we'll need to like play around with and see how good the portrait mode is. But it does look like a little bit of fun, and they are going beyond just having cameras that point and shoot. Almost it seems like they've learned a few things from the Nokia 9 PureView in terms of how they can use software to make cameras better.
Yeah, I mean, and actually it's really interesting because we've not seen flagships launching. Not that IFA is usually a big space for launching flagship phones, although we do have a few flagship processor stories. Samsung kind of went first by saying, right, here's the Exynos 980, I think it is, their new on-chip 5G number, and then we've got Huawei with the rather heavily leaked Kirin 990. And I suppose in due disclaimer terms, I should point out 3 of us are here as guests of Huawei. Make of that what you will. But Chris, why should I be excited about the Kirin?
Well, the Kirin 990, from what we understand, from what's public already, it's going to be the next evolution of what Huawei's already done. So expect faster performance still, probably improvements in the AI sphere. As to what we'll actually see it in, well, that's a bit up in the air. I think the Mate 30 is expected to come later this month. Whether it will be ready for the Mate 30, a little unclear. I think you'd have to expect it probably is. There's conversation around the Mate X relaunching towards the end of the year with the 990 processor included. And undoubtedly we'll see it in next year's P40 series as well. But I think processors have sort of become a bit of a non-issue. They either have performance or they don't. And Huawei's latest installments in the Kirin line over the last 2 years now have not left anyone wanting. And in many cases, they've run rings around Qualcomm's chips and Samsung's too. So I expect the 990 to do the same sort of thing, to really dazzle with performance. The only gotcha, if you like, is that it's using intellectual property from ARM, which makes the insides of the processor, if you like, from about 12 months ago, because they can't license the new stuff. The rumoured performance, though, suggests that this really won't be much of an issue.
The thing is, though, will we in Australia see this in a phone all that soon? Because there's a lot of suggestion that Huawei's maybe not going to push the Mate 30 in that direction.
Maybe in the Mate X.
I think in the Mate X we will see it. In the Mate 30 we will see it, but probably from afar. I don't expect the Mate 30 is going to come to Australia based on what's happening at the moment, only because the question of will it or won't it have Android really hasn't been resolved yet. From the understanding of what's going on, the answer is probably not, and you'd have to expect that in that likelihood, Huawei would have to be a bit cautious about releasing that phone in the Australian market. I think they need to do their homework before they bring a brand new type of phone to market, especially in Western countries. And I think the Mate 30 might just be a bit quick.
And, I mean, you mentioned, Alex, the Mate X. The other thing that we are seeing is a bit of a kind of an early showdown between the foldable phones that they were first announced at MWC, because Samsung's got the Galaxy Fold here, and seemingly not a lot else in a lot of really new stuff if you're not into washing machines and other white goods. And Huawei's got the Mate X here. And in fact, Samsung said, hey, Galaxy Fold, South Korea, have it this week. Are you excited?
I'm very excited. I'm just genuinely excited to see something new in terms of smartphones, something genuinely different, because I feel like we've kind of almost like reached peak smartphone. Like, they get a little bit shinier every year. There's just a touch less bezel. Maybe the camera gets put into the screen. But a phone is a phone is a phone these days, no matter what price point you're at. And so to actually see a new form factor that could have some genuinely compelling use cases is really exciting. And I mean, the Fold and the Mate X kind of have a bit of a beta feel to them. It's just like,
they're very version 1, yeah.
Yeah, but that, you need that version 1 to actually refine these products. Nothing good gets made in one go necessarily. Like, you look at the first iPhone compared to even the second iPhone.
Or the first Fold.
Yes, I was just about to say, this feels like Fold 1.5.
Yeah.
Fan edition.
Oh, Galaxy Fold fixed. So yeah, the Fold apparently doesn't break anymore, so it's pretty exciting. And it sounds like Australia, well, we know it's definitely coming to Australia. We don't have an exact date or exact price, expecting around $3,000, and hopefully soon.
And the Mate X is, when and if we see it, it's going to be a little bit more again.
Yeah, we're expecting it to come in around $4,000 based on the initial pricing they provided back at Mobile World Congress.
It's funny though, because when we're talking about phones like the new Nokias, like the new Motorola, suddenly spending $3,000 on a phone, that feels
terrifying.
Tougher to justify. Well, that's about it for another episode of Vertical Hold. Thanks to Chris for joining me.
Pleasure.
And Alex.
Thank you for having me.
And Fergus.
Thanks for bringing me here. Yeah.
Vertical Hold is proudly sponsored by Casa Systems, taking Australian technology to the global market.